click the link I sent you and see if it's working? You have to go right here.
Okay, if I can get everybody's attention, I'm going to go ahead and share a thought, share an experience, and again, if we could all come together and have the opportunity to think of Kimball. It's amazing to look out and to see all of you that are here celebrate Kimball and the life that he led. You know, I just want to share, let me share something because I know there's going to be a lot of great people that are here. They're going to share some amazing experiences that they had with Kimball. If we think about, this is an amazing group that's here tonight. We're coming from every different parts of life. I mean, Kimball was everywhere in his life, and he's brought us all together tonight, which I think is pretty remarkable to think about what he's done and how he lived his life and how he connected with so many people, which has brought us all together. But let me share this because I know that most of what we're going to hear tonight is going to be about Kimball, and that's how it should be. And so, but let me just share this thought, and then we'll turn it over. And we're just going to have an open mic or an open whatever this is, catch box. But let me just share this. You know, many of you know Kimball's family. Kimball has two amazing siblings, and Whitney and her family, and Stephen and Emily. They're remarkable. They're amazing. And an amazing mom and dad, Phil and Mindy Wing. So Kimball grew up in a home that was a remarkable home and had a great brother and a great sister. And so let me just share this thought as far as what I have observed these last few weeks after finding out about Kimball and what I've observed about this family, about the Wing family. First off, Whitney and Stephen are amazing and their family. They've just been great examples of those who believe, who one day know that they'll have a chance to be with Kimball again, but going through so much as well. And then Phil and Mindy, this is what I really want to share. Mindy on Sunday, as we're worshiping, right behind us, there's a chapel area where we come every Sunday and we worship. So Mindy is going through all the things that she's going through, and Mindy's just going around giving hugs to people that need a hug. So think about that. All of us should think about that. So in a time where Mindy Wing could turn inward, what did she do? She turned outward. And she was thinking about other people and what she could do to help someone else. Phil's the same way. Phil kind of got on me because I didn't watch the Cougar football game live, and I watched just the highlights. But Phil sending things, inspirational thoughts, inspirational stories, sharing how he's had these great experiences with other people. And I'm here to tell you tonight, they are a great example to teach each of us of going through all that they're going through. And what does the Wing family do? They turn outward. So we rallied together to rejoice in Kimball, to honor his life, and to honor the Wing family because they're amazing. Thank you. So I think, Phil, we're just going to open it up right now, and anybody can come forward and tell just really good stories. Is that what you're doing?
So this should be like this. Like this. And whoever, if you're speaking, you hold your hand here. And that way nobody will see that we're... Anyway, since I'm up here, I'll take a few minutes. I don't know in the last 30 years, when we were going to have our surprise child, that she would be able to spend a lot of it with Kimball. But there's three things that I felt when I heard that this happened with Kimball. The first is anger. I mean, I was mad at Kimball. I was mad at just the whole circumstances of losing him. And I kind of worked myself through it. But it was not necessarily easy because I knew I would not be able to see him regularly. The second thing that impressed me when I was thinking about Kimball is the love that he had. When you look at all these people, I mean, how many people here don't know me? Oh, come on, raise your hand. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, so, but the point, there was a man that lived here a number of years ago, his name was Jack Hansen. And when he died, I remember everybody saying, but Jack was my best friend. And you're going, what? No way, he was my best friend. And I feel like that's what we all feel like with Kimball. Kimball showed us great love and compassion and service. And because of that, we just felt loved. And that's a great feeling. And you are all, including myself, are a testimony of that. And the final thing I felt is trust. I have trust in knowing in the end, everything works out. Everything we want to be and everything that we're going to be actually happens. So though Kimball may not be with us right now, that we can see him, I know he's here, right? Running around, trying to say, hey, okay. But there's this great feeling, I think, of trust that we all have in knowing that we are all brothers and sisters, that we have a Father in heaven who loves us, who gave us this great opportunity to come and make the best of our lives. And Kimball did that. We may not agree with a lot of the stuff, like jumping out of an airplane and going 10,000 miles. But you know, that's the choices that he made. Life, he impacted everybody here to where they feel the love that he has, but more importantly, the love our Father in heaven has for each one of them. I miss you, Kimball. I love you, and I look forward to the time that we get to be together again.
My name is Mark Castellano. I'd like to express my love and appreciation to Phil and Mindy, to Stephen and Whitney and Joyce and the rest of the Wing family. I just want to express my love and appreciation to them and to their wonderful son, who is here with us. That I'm sure of. We all love Kimball, and it's amazing to me to sit and look at this group of people that are here tonight, all here because of one young man and a really neat family who all of us love. And we love them because of the way they give themselves. They are a true example of the love that our Father in heaven set the example through his Son for each of us to live by. I'm so grateful to know the Wing family. We've been close friends since the very beginning here in our 7th Ward and now our PB Ward. Our families grew up together. Our children roamed the streets together and had a lot of fun in doing so. A lot of harmless stuff and a lot of fun memories. Many of the things that they did, I'm just barely now hearing about them. And we understand why when you hear the stories. But I was thinking about some memories of Kimball. And more than just incidents that we had together, I was thinking about his incredible qualities. Qualities that all of us recognize as what a truly great person has within them. Love for others, loyalty, and I mean loyalty. There was not a more loyal person than Kimball Wing. If you knew Kimball and you needed something, Kimball would be there to help you with it. That was something that was just within him. And I had the privilege of being able to drive Kimball to the airport the day that he left on the trip. And he tried to tell me, "No, I'm going to take an Uber." And I said, "No, Kimball, we're not going to do that." So I went up that night to talk him out of it because he was kind of pushy about it. And anyway, I got there to the house, and I've never seen anything quite like it. It was completely filled with gear. And it was laid out meticulously. Everything was in its place. He was packing and repacking and doing different things. And that was also part of who Kimball was, is that when he did something, he did it really well. He was all in. Anyway, it was a lot of fun driving to the airport that day at 5 a.m. And I didn't regret a minute of it. I really didn't. That's just how we are. And I enjoy getting up early anyway. So anyway, I got him to the airport. We had a good chat. I told him to be careful. And I know he was. And then when he got out of the car, I told him what a good man he is. And that's what I think of Kimball Wing. He is a good man. And because of our beliefs in the gospel of Jesus Christ, I am confident Kimball is an eternal being, as each one of us in this room are tonight. And he lives on. He is engaged in the process of eternal progression. And our Father in heaven knows each of us by our hearts. And there was no greater heart among us than Kimball Wing. That is the truth. I love Kimball as well. We will always remember him. And may we keep his legacy alive within us by treating one another with goodness and kindness, going out of our way to be helpful to one another and to show our love for each other. I leave you with my thoughts tonight. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. You just have to hold that box right up there.
Okay. Well, I'm Phil's, and Kimball and we brought out the irreverent side of each other. And this is a family thing, and I hope you'll bear with me. But I am a good girl. But Kimball always wanted me to sing Fever. And I'm just going to sing a little bit, because I don't want to take away from the spirit. But I know he's here. Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. And I won't go any further.
Keep singing.
I'm gonna finish it the next time I see him. On the other side, I hope Jesus isn't around. I love Kimball. Mindy, I stayed at their house, and you'll know how twisted I am. I had surgery in Tijuana, Mexico. Mindy is deathly afraid of blood. And she said, whatever you do, don't leave. She was gone and Kimball was there, and my tubes leaked. And it looked like a homicide scene in their shower. And Kimball, bless his heart, was trying to help me clean it up before his mother saw it and fainted. But Kimball was always there with a twinkle in his eye and a good for a laugh. And I love him and I'm gonna miss him.
Look at me.
I'm not cousin. But if she's the irreverent cousin, I'm Kimball's irreverent aunt. I love that kid so much. And I think we understood each other. It was shocking to him that I got all of his dirty jokes. I knew all the dirty lingo. He could do nothing to shock me. And I will always cherish that we had that together. And Castellanos, you know it. And I was driving with Todd down here. And we were driving the back way, and I just remembered, like, that stinking kid would take me in the car, and he would put me in there, and he would drive so freaking fast. And I swear I think he wanted to kill me. But he thought it was so funny that I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and he thought it was the funniest thing ever. And I will always cherish every laugh and every memory in my life. And I know it's the same for all of you guys, was better with him than it. And I'm grateful for the time we had.
The truth.
So I just hold the spot. I was getting pressured by Whitney, so I'm up here. My name's David Tuitupol. I met Kimball because I was in the singles ward when Phil was my bishop. And I'm of Tongan descent, so I'm a Polynesian. We are voyagers, and we belong in the sea. But the funny thing is, Kimball has taught me almost everything I know about the ocean. When I first came out here, and this is the truth. When I first came out here, I didn't know a lot of people. I moved out here on my own, no family or friends or anything. He invited me to go surf, so he taught me how to surf. Kimball taught Pacific Islander how to surf. After he got tired of surfing, I think Phil kept inviting him, and he didn't want to go with his dad anymore. So we got into diving and spearfishing. So then he taught me how to spearfish. He taught me how to dive, hold my breath. He even showed me what apps to download to help me hold my breath longer. He taught me how to make poke. You know, like I owe so much gratitude to Kimball for teaching me how to be a Polynesian, really. But you know, I echo the sentiment that everyone shared. He was an incredible person. You know, on a more spiritual note, he was one of the more loving people that I knew. especially at a young age. Usually you feel that type of love from old people, parents, grandparents, but he had a very mature love. He didn't judge a lot of people. He may have teased a lot of people, but he didn't really judge. And he was a lover by nature. That's just who he was. And that was contagious. When you were around him, you felt loved. You felt like you should love people more too. And I'll always miss that side of him. Even when I left La Jolla, I was living in Hawaii, practicing all the things he taught me. And he was always texting, and it was always positive things. Teasing, I love you, hope you're doing well. And it never changed. From the first time I met him until the last text we exchanged, it was always positive, it was always loving. And I'll never be able to forget just the way he made me feel. And it makes me want to be more like that to others. And I think that's, if you don't feel it, you will by the end of this meeting. But I guess that's his challenge to all of us now, is to go out and love people and to accept and to bring people in and teach them how to live their culture. So, but I always call him Mama Wing and Bishop Wing, even though he's not Bishop anymore. But I love you guys, and I'm so grateful for taking me in and giving me brothers like Stephen, Kimball, sister like Whitney, and I'll always love you guys. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Tom Atwell, and I'm a teacher and coach at La Jolla High School. I was also a member of this board here, and had the opportunity to both teach and coach Kimball when he was 15, 16 years old. It's a great age to want to wring someone's neck. But he was an amazing kid, an amazing athlete. And I've been thinking a lot about, him and the kind of life he led and the person he was. And there's a Marcus Aurelius quote that about when someone dies, what we can do to feel better about it. And he said something to the effect of, you can honor them by being more like them, living like them. And I think, the sentiment here of, the kind of person he was, and we don't have to live like him going 1,000 miles an hour off a cliff. But I think the way he lived was full send. When he was going to do something, be a friend, help someone, be a brother, be a son, he was full send all the time. And I think if there's something that I know I can take with me is, whatever I am going to do, don't hold back, and do it to the nth degree. And I think that's something I know I can keep him close to me, even though he's gone. So we're all going to miss him, and I love the Wayne family. Thank you.
Piggyback off of that, because I had the pleasure of meeting the Wing family through water polo, and I think it was when we were in, even before high school, but I was kind of new to La Jolla. I didn't really know anybody, and maybe I had some preconceived notions. Didn't feel that great, but I was guys and just really welcome, and I think that just really speaks to who they are as people. And I think we can all agree that Kimball had a very unique ability to make people laugh, even if it was a situation you shouldn't have been laughing in. One of them being Coach Atwell was whispering at us, and I don't remember what Kimball said. It may have been a little inappropriate, but we were like dying laughing, just struggling to keep it in, because the last thing when Tom's whispering at you is you don't want to be laughing. But yeah, and then I had the pleasure of being on the dive team with Kimball. And speaking of an athlete, for anybody that knew Kimball freshman year of high school, he may have had a couple extra pounds, but that man could fly in the air. I remember I was flabbergasted. The first time I saw him dive, I don't know if anybody's familiar with diving, it requires a lot of grace. And he came up there and he did his, the walk and the leg, And this man does like a full one reverse, which most people know is like a gainer, and just absolutely sinks it, and I was just shocked. But he was a very eclectic individual, still is, and just a man full of life.
Looking at these pictures and thinking back on experiences with Kimball, he knew all of us intimately, and kind of like Ernie was saying, I don't know a whole bunch of people in this room, but Kimball's kind of like a brother to me. In fact, when some of my brothers were on missions and there were weddings going on, we'd make a cutout of their face, and Kimball would hold it up in the pictures. That first week, I remember going through my text thread with him and just going back between just, chuckling and tearing up and, a common thread in there. And I read it in one of those, one of the comment pages online, how much, invite everyone up for poke or bring poke, drop lobsters, it was going through my text messages, hey, I dropped some lobster off in the fridge. It's who gets it, who sends a text message like that? It's sweet. Kimball's he's the best because he loved lobster diving. Didn't really eat lobster. One of the last experiences I had with Kimball was, it's kind of funny, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but going to lobster dive. And just the two of us went, and it was just absolute picturesque conditions, full moon and stuff, and just dead glassy, perfect conditions. And we got out just to look at it at the wall at Children's Pool, and I said something like, Kimball, this is almost romantic or something, And of course that was an open invitation for him to grab my hand. So yeah, I'm obviously going to miss Kimball. We could tell, me and my brothers were talking about stories we could tell of Kimball, and there's just too many, we could literally tell stories for days about him. And yeah, I'm gonna miss you, Kimball, and yeah, I'll see you again. We'll get some lobsters together.
I think that there's a Kimball we're not talking about as much as we should, and that's Fat Kimball. Fat, annoying, always with a comment Kimball. And I know it's probably not the best time for a roast, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. The opportunity to teach Kimball when he was 13, 12 to 13, maybe when was his worst time. That's when I was new to the ward, and we were in a class, and it was Kimball and wonderful Angel Steven, who was next to me. Rye on the other side. You don't know Rye, it's also a little angel. I was just like, right guys? And they're like, actually, I think it's like this. Kimball sitting back in his chair the whole time, leaning back, just rolling his eyes at everything I had to say. And I know he's probably doing that right now, actually. Oh, sexy Kimball, very much. But the stories are amazing. And the pictures. I get why there's so many people here. Wonderful, handsome, and caring. And everybody's friend. And he was one thing. Hey, lad? First of all, Austin, you are a hoss now. Okay? We used to make fun of Austin a lot, and now I don't think it's a good idea. So apologies. Me and Circuit. Circuit, you want to say sorry to Austin? Yeah. Be cool. Kimball was always one of those dudes who knew exactly who he was. And that in a kid is amazing. And his house, the Wings house, the fact you opened up to everybody is, while he was like that, to bring in more other terrible people, some sort of, I don't know, sadistic thing you guys had going on. I was married to a chef, and I think that's the only reason we got the invite over there, because she made food and apologized for me, but calming her down. Are you holding her back? Yeah, there it is. Anyway, I just, we're grateful for him, and I think if you were to bring in everybody whose life he touched, there wouldn't be a room big enough. So, we're grateful for him, and we miss him, and if he can turn it around into that, then anybody's got a chance. You mind if I keep this picture? It's totally normal reasons.
So I remember the first memory I had of Kimball, they were our next door neighbors when they lived on Emerald Street, and that was a really sad time when they moved away. They only moved like, a couple more blocks, over that direction, but still very sad. That seemed like forever for, a 5-year-old or whatever. But one of my first memories was Kimball came over and nothing but a diaper and cowboy boots. And watching these pictures, the cowboy boots make a return multiple times throughout his life. I remember, Kimball before the glow up. I do remember thinking, he was kind of mean. And then maybe 5 years ago, or I saw him again, and the change in him was incredible. And he gave me a hug. He asked me about how my life's going, and just the genuine care. We didn't, I went to a different high school. We didn't really always, we always saw each other here. But I was amazed at the change in him. and I knew myself I had changed a lot as well, and just the transforming power of time, of experience, of life. I'm hearing all these stories, and I'm just like, wow, he really did live life to the fullest. When there was an opportunity to change for the better, he took it. And I am grateful for even the small amount of time I got to know him, got to be around him, and I'll miss him, and I'm excited to meet him again on the perfect day.
When Sharon and I got married, we were kind of figuring everything out, how we split up holidays, how we, spent time while we were back home from college. She grew up with family around, cousins, aunts, uncles, and so she was always confused, and I was like, well, we go to Luke's house, the Castellanos are there, the Wings are there, and then we go to Carol, that's like what we do. And she's like, well, my family. And I'm like, well, this is my family. So when I, sorry, this is a lot better. When I heard the news about Kimball, I was at work, and I normally keep it pretty composed, but Kimball just means too much, I have a couple of short stories I want to share that just speak to, who Kimball was in our lives. So the first, thing that I'm probably going to miss the most, anytime we're back home at my parents' house, I think we're just like trained dogs. Anytime we hear the door open without a knock, it's Kimball. Just strolling in, looking cool, staying until 2 in the morning or whatever, Kimball's up for anything, anytime. One of my just most random story ever. I don't even remember what Kimball and I were doing. We were at La Jolla High after school. We were just sitting there hanging out, waiting probably for a ride or something. And we see 2 kids stand up next to each other, and someone punches the other kid in the chest or something. And then they walked away, and Kimball was like, let's go see what's going on. So we go and we track one kid down, and we're like, hey, what was that? Are you guys fighting? Or I'm just standing there. I was a freshman, and Kimball's the one talking, obviously. Apparently, they were friends. One of them had gotten too friendly with the other kid's girlfriend or something weird. Kimball found the other kid, brought them back together, had them talk it out. Just tell them, you guys are gonna regret this. When you guys are, growing up, you guys are gonna be homies, and this girl, just forget about it, hug it out. And they just went from punching each other to hugging, because Kimball had that influence on people. Another one, we were standing outside my house. I think it was my dad and sister and maybe Casey. Yeah, Casey was there. And someone from the high school, a lot of you guys probably know him, I don't remember who it was, but he was driving by with his girlfriend and tossed a In-N-Out shake out the car, and it hit our car right where we were standing. Kimball, without hesitation, we're all just standing there, sprints over to his motorcycle, starts it up, rips across the lawn, chases the kid down. So then we're all trying to figure out what's going on. Kimball's already around the block following the kid. We get in the car, we turn right on Soledad Mountain Road, and we see Kimball pulling the kid. The kid's in a big SUV. Kimball's on a motorcycle, pulling him over. He got the kid to pull over. He made him talk to my dad, made him apologize. Kimball was up for anything, anytime. Freshman year, was roommates with just a random selection, ended up being a really nice kid in the marching band from Ramona here in San Diego. We're both pretty relaxed guys. He was asleep early, had to get up for band practice at 6 in the morning. And then I'm waking up at 2 in the morning to Kimball just shaking me, saying, hey, let's go to Walmart. And I see from the pictures, I wasn't alone. That's not a unique situation to myself. So, it's been said, Kimball made everyone feel like he was their best friend. I'm gonna miss that. I love you, Kimball.
I think it's impressive, I hope, to all of us to see how many people that Kimball had a real influence on. I mean, we can all say the same thing, but the two things that stand out for me, Kimball, I think his brother posted that he flirted with older women. And I would say that Kimball charmed older women, and he treated people nice when they had there was no benefit to him for doing it. That's just who he was in his heart. And the second thing is he's very persuasive, as you all know. He told me one time, he said, "Ray, I could sell cardboard to a tree." And I think he could. If a woman walked into Mitch's to buy a pair of sunglasses, he wasn't even on shift, but he would help them pick out 2 or 3 pair that made them look gorgeous. That's just Kimball. And he could charm women and little kids especially. They just loved him. And lots of good things. I'm glad everyone is keeping this to all the great things about Kimball, because he really had a truly great heart, and we're going to miss him. I only did this because Whitney told me I had to. One time I was in their driveway in my Jeep, and I had a piece of pizza I was eating, and Kimball came up to me and started grabbing my leg, kind of my inner thigh, and started grabbing it, and I had the Jeep was in gear, and that was the leg that was on the clutch, and Phil's car was right in front of me. And so the only thing I could do to get him to stop is I started hitting him with the piece of pizza in his face. And I think that surprised him even, but I was also thinking of Phil's car, and I couldn't stand the thought of doing something to Phil's car.
And he's like, "This is my brother, Stefano." He left. I'm like, okay, so I'm calling this Stefano for like 2 or 3 weeks, and finally Stephen comes to me like privately. He's like, "Yeah, I don't want to be called Stefano. My name's Stephen. Can you just call me Stephen?" I'm like, "Oh, that's your brother's fault." He's like, "Just call me Stephen." So I'm in class and I'm calling him Stephen, and Kimball's giving me a little kickback, and I'm like, "Hey, he wants me to call him Stephen," and just got it. He came up after class and he's like, "Hey, do what my brother says. He's better than I am." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll track that." My next great memory of Kimball was Phil brought the boys out to DC, and I'm doing this around. I was in the Marine Corps. We do a lot of time. We went and saw typical things in England, and they were like, "Hey, is it cool to be a Marine?" I'm like, whatever. They want to go see. It was the Air Force Monument, right? It was brand new. It's those planes that are shooting up in the sky. And we had looked at that, and we walk away, and they were up in front of me, and I'm going to fly. And I'm like, "Well, that's kind of cool. Are you good at math and stuff?" He's like, because, if you want to be like Greg House back here, you gotta be pretty good at math, and you gotta do some things. And he's like, "I don't think I want to fly airplanes. I think I just want to fly." And he did fly, and he did real good at it. The other memory I have is I'm driving home from Utah. It was Christmas, and I had a real bad pain in my stomach, and my wife's like, "Hey, do we want to stop in Vegas?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just going to use the pain, and I'm going to anger drive all the way to San Diego." So I'm anger driving, and I power through to get to San Diego, and I get home, and I walk in the house, and my backyard's like blue and white. And I'm like, "That's interesting." And I get up on the roof to start pulling off Christmas lights, and were you there? Kimball had come over and he mowed a Y in my lawn. And he'd like put blue spade rain in there, so there was a big Y in the back of my yard. And I was so mad. It turns out my appendix were rupturing, and I went to the hospital. But I just remember appendix pain, and Kimball put this Y in my yard, and it was just the most. The times. For Kimball.
Just wanted to share a few quick stories with me and Kimball. The first one, I think these three kind of exemplify Kimball. The first one I remember, Kimball came and picked me up in Phil's Porsche, and we were, I think, headed up to either the Ward's house or the Brazier, something like that up on the hill. And I was like, oh God, Kimball, this goes pretty fast. And then we take a side street, I can't remember which one it was, and then he continues to go, I think, 120. Fast as I've ever been in a car. Never, probably never will go that fast again. But second one, me and Kimball both got to work at Mitch's at the same time, Mitch's Surf Shop in La Jolla. And our boss, Mitch, pretty serious man. If you can get him to laugh, you're doing something pretty good. But there was, Kimball was able to make him laugh so hard, and it would just be contagious to everyone. Once you got Mitch laughing, that was, you really knew that you were like a funny person. You could, he was very charismatic, which Kimball was, being so friendly to everyone. And then the third one, we were pool hopping one day down at, down in PB, and I think I had left my top over by the tub, and the guy came and kicked us out, whatever, you guys got to leave. And so we were all kind of going back to our car, and I was like, oh, I think I forgot my top. And then Kimball, I think, and Cole, they both went back in, and they were giving this guy a hard time, like, are you really going to keep this guy's top? Whatever, and then he brought it back out. So I would say that kind of shows just the loyalty. Kimball will go to the nth degree for you. He was there for me in some of my lowest times, and I'm sure everyone here could probably say that. He'll pick out the person that needs that love, and he'll go and show it. So, miss you, Kimball. Love you.
I'm Abby Burton, and I grew up with the Wing children. And I remember Kimball when he was a toddler, and I remember him as a middle schooler and an elementary schooler. And I always thought of him, he was always the little brother, Whitney's little brother, him and Steven. And there's one memory, well, first of all, I want to say that I got to benefit from his daredevilness when he was a freshman at BYU and I was a Provo All-Star, still going to BYU. He broke his leg and I had a car and, torn ACL, thank you. And he had a handicap pass. And I was so happy to drive him on campus anywhere he wanted to go. But what I remember about Kimball was how brave he was and how much he loved people, and you always felt so cool when you were in his presence. And so I miss him and I can't wait to see him again.
I thought I'd have my thoughts organized by this point. kind of been thinking about it for the last couple weeks, and I just feel like Kimball was, I mean, obviously a great friend to a lot of people. He was one of my best friends, and he really, I don't know, got me to do things that, in a good way, that I'd never do. He would always have us doing every night we lived together in college. There was never like a boring time with Kimball, or even a boring night at our apartment. He would, go catch trout on the fish tank. It's not. Put his wetsuit on, put snorkel on, and like pretend to dive in that fish tank. There was just so many nights where you just thought it was just, like if Kimball weren't there, it would just be a very low key normal night, and then Kimball would just add some aspect to it where you remember that night for the rest of your life. So we did a notorious down in Mexico, where like 14 or 17 of us drove from here down to Cabo, stayed there for a while, drove back. And that trip has like been talked about for years. We have like group chats still from that time. And like that trip wouldn't be that trip without Kimball. There were many different times whether it was like when we were out surfing, while we were in town, while we were getting dinner, like just every little part of that trip just had like Kimball's spice to it. And you guys can probably imagine what that would be, just him talking to random people in his like broken Spanish, and him getting up at karaoke and pretending to sing. And yeah, he was just such a fun person to be around. When, I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they've, we haven't made it back to San Diego. We live in Idaho, but we haven't made it back down just a couple times a year. And even only seeing Kimball a couple times a year, my kids like love him. And they're just, I don't know. He's always been so good with my kids, my siblings' kids, and he's just, and then like my dad was saying, like no matter the age, like you go out to the supermarket and there'd be some old lady who probably hasn't talked to a person in a week, like an old widow that Kimball probably just made her year by some like conversation or compliment that he made towards her. And then since moving away, Kimball would he'd call me probably weekly. We'd probably talk almost every week, and it was so nice to have a friend that just actually cared and liked to talk. And I mean, obviously talking with Kimball was fun and entertaining and stuff. And we'd text all the time. I'm just gonna miss his voice and being able to hear from him. So yeah, love you, Kimball.
So speaking of charming older women, I have a funny story I couldn't resist sharing. So I got the privilege of really getting to know Kimball these last 4 years. I've lived with him all through college. We were roommates for 2 years, but we moved back down here to California about 4 years ago, around the same time, because all the boys bailed on us and got married. And yeah, we were just the last two single of this tight-knit group we had up in Utah. And we hung out almost every weekend. Really I always knew him, but I really got to know him on a really personal level. This one time, we're on a Duffy in Newport, just having a good time with some friends. And then we leave and go to a hotel just on Huntington there, just walking through. And there's a big wedding going on, a big Indian traditional wedding. And Kimball looks at me, dude, we're crashing this wedding. What are you talking? No, we're not. Just heads right in there, and I follow him. I'm like, okay, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're in like shorts, a t-shirt, and we just go by the food area, like eating food. I'm talking to someone, just trying to I don't know, act like we're a part of this wedding somehow. And I turn my shoulder and I see this group forming, this like dance circle. I'm like, what's going on? Kimball is in the middle of this group, dancing with this lady. He's twirling her, dipping her. The whole wedding is cheering. And I'm like, acting like I don't know this guy. I'm like, whoa, like this is awesome. And yeah, it goes on for another 10 minutes. We finally get kicked out. But the lady, she was an elderly lady. She comes out of the wedding, approaches Kimball and of the friend group that we're with, and she's just talking to us like, is this young man your guys' friend? We're like, yeah. And she just had the best things to say about him. Just them talking for, 5 minutes. And she's just like singing his praises, saying how much like she enjoyed being with him, and she had just lost her husband just recently, and it just brightened her day so much. And she was almost in tears. And we were just like, whoa. So I was like, Kimball, that's a great idea. Good job, dude. And yeah, it was just the funniest story. But that's just who he was. Just so many times he would come to my house. We're going out to dinner with some friends, and he'd be in the kitchen talking to my mom for over an hour. I'm like, Kimball, dude, we gotta go. Like, we're late. He's like, hey, we got time. Like, we're having a great conversation here. And my mom absolutely adored him. She only knew him for a few years, but she just loved him. And yeah, that's just who he was. Yeah, and I love him. My love goes out to the Wing family, to his day one best friends who've known him.
That's the great thing about Kimball, that we will have stories to tell about him for the rest of our lives. Yeah, when I got the news, a few of my Hawaii friends who I'd just met him a couple times, they both, gave their condolences, and they just both had, what they said was like, it felt like I knew him really well, like instant connection from when you meet him. And I know that's why we're all here today, is because each and every one of us had a special, super special connection with Kimball. Yeah, I could name a million stories from growing up, and but I mean, just one, when we moved into our new house, he was out visiting out in Hawaii with his girlfriend, and I mean, he spent most of the day helping us just move in on his vacation. That's the type of guy he was. He'd rather do that than go, even snorkeling, even though he hadn't been there in like 10 years or more. But yeah, he's as good as they come, and there's no one like him. And yeah, I love him, and I'm just gonna keep texting him because I know he'll get it. Love you, Kimball.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like what story to tell and stuff, and there's so many. I feel like just about everyone here could go all day. But one that really stands out to me that I remember that was pretty good was back in church basketball. We had like a little church basketball league when we were in high school and stuff, and this just kind of shows like what kind of guy Kimball was. And we were playing some team. We were probably losing or something, but I was trying to play some tough D on a guy. I was probably like 5'3", maybe, and he was probably like 6'3". So I was definitely getting handed to. But was just trying to play my best and like get a little bit aggressive and stuff. And then the guy kind of like, he did this little move and kind of like tripped me and like I fell down and stuff. And I was all right, you know, but I got up and I kept playing. Like we start running down on the offense and all of a sudden you just see Kimball come flying across the court. Just like full speed ahead and just like lays into this guy, like just like flew like 5 feet, tackles him straight to the ground, and starts like yelling. He's just like doesn't want any of it. And, yeah, that was cool. He was a really loyal fan, and he's like a brother. And yeah, I love him, and I'm gonna miss him. And yeah.
I was not planning on coming up because I don't know how to do this. But a story we were talking about the wings the other day that I just had to share was, as you heard, we were a pretty tough Sunday school class at church. And we kept getting teachers that would just leave us. And there was a long period we didn't have a Sunday school teacher. And Kimball would go to the library, get a TV, get Chicken Little, because it was the only non-church movie, and he would board up our classroom window, and we would watch Chicken Little for an hour, and no one knew. And Kimball was just so fun. I too had the down to him driving way too fast down the street. There was one time in college, he came to pick me up from church, and I walked out and he said, "No, your heels are too high, your skirt's too short, go change." I just remember always coming home from swim team and he'd be in my room, like on my computer, wearing my glasses, taking pictures of himself. And it continued into college, and I would come home from class and he'd be wearing my second pair of glasses, or I guess it was eye-chatting my parents in my dorm room. He was the best, and I don't know how we're supposed to do life without him, but being here with all of you who love him, it just is, I've told this story a few times, but I had a friend in North Carolina who moved to Utah, and when I was posting about Kimball, she texted me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, everyone up here is posting about Kimball, how did you know him?" Everyone just knew him, and everyone loved him, and I think that there's no better way he would want to be celebrated, so.
My name is Christy Jacinto, previously Richmond. I did not plan to come up because I cannot talk and cry at the same time. But Kimball was a brother to me in every way. I've known him since the day he was born, when the twins came home from the hospital. The Wings in our family, we both didn't have any immediate family in San Diego. So every Thanksgiving, Christmas trip, everything we did was with the Wings, and obviously lots of the other families from the Word too, but the Wings were always on the trip too. The Wings were always for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and so every single part of my life has had Kimball. When we were little, we would fight like siblings. I remember lots of pinching at swim lessons, and then he would try to blame it on Steven, which it was never Steven. And he would kind of harass our European swim teacher, George, and I hated swimming so much. I was terrified. And he was, of course, a natural because he was good at everything he did. But then as we got older, we went to PD Middle and had lots of good times with him, making lots of friends, and some people not such good friends. And there were a lot of people who got their cousins to come, and we found out that cousins was kind of a relative term at PD Middle, and so there was a group of us kind of guarding Kimball one day because he had gotten into some trouble with a girl, and not trouble with a girl, he just had kind of bothered her. And she had just given her a hard time. He was being funny. She didn't think it was funny. And so we kind of guarded him. It was the only time in my life I've ever seen Kimball scared because he was fearless. And my dad and I were talking the other day, just, kind of saying some stories, and we were just saying how, Kimball was good at everything. And we were in the same pottery class in high school together. And my things, I mean, my parents like joke that they're like paperweights, they're so bad. And Kimball was making these like beautiful pieces. I'm like, how can you just do everything, Kimball? And just a few things that I loved about Kimball was, as mentioned, he was so loyal. Like there were times where, like at BYU, we went to the same college, so we literally went to every school the same. And he ran into me while I was with a guy that I had been going on some dates with, and he was a pretty tall guy, and Kimball got in his face kind of and was like, hey, this is my sister, you're not gonna mess with her. Like, I was like, oh, okay. And he just always had my back our whole lives. And another thing about Kimball, like we mentioned, he just wasn't scared of things, and he was not scared to like make a fool out of himself. And so I think that's why he was just so fun, because he did not care and he was so confident. And we would go to stake dances. I'm not sure how this hasn't come up, because stake dances were like what we lived for as teenagers, because Kimball would get, I mean, we got all these kids from high school to come, and they became these like kind of lame dances into really fun dances with hundreds of kids. And he would be in the center of the dance floor, like doing outrageous things. And people just loved it. He was the life of the party, as you all know. It's so much fun. And the other thing about Kimball that I absolutely adored was how he made every person feel really special. When we talk about how he charmed women, and my dad did not mean it to sound creepy, but charms children, he just made them feel special. And children don't lie. They are completely transparent, and they say what they think. And when I told my daughter that Kimball passed, she just, the devastation in her face, she said, he was my most special guy, Mom. We spent a lot of time with Kimball this summer because he's always at my parents' house just dropping in. And that was never a bad thing. We just were like, hey, when did you get here, Kimball? He just came through, usually the back door, actually. Unannounced always. And he would sit with my daughter Eden, and she's very chatty. I don't know where she got that from. And just let her tell him about all these little things about baby dolls and her little friends from school and things that a lot of adults wouldn't sit and listen to a 4-year-old talk about, but he cared, and he made her feel so special. And even my grandmother, who just passed a few weeks ago, we were saying that they're probably up there, and he's just making her laugh, her jolly laugh, because she adored him, and she lived in Colorado, but she had a relationship with Kimball. And my college roommates, like, he would just drop into my apartment in college, and they all love Kimball, and Kimball is just such a lively person. So, you know, coming to this reality without Kimball is going to be extremely difficult. But I'm so grateful that we all have each other to share these memories. And one last thing is just going on about how he makes people feel special. I love scuba diving, and that's something I'm very passionate about. And he would just sit down and ask me questions, like things that people would never think to ask, but he really cared about what every person's into, and I know every one of you feels the same way. And if you see him, he'll sit down and just talk to you about what you're doing and what you're into, and I think that's just such a gift. And even though he was doing this insanely cool stuff all over the world, it was never about him. He just wanted to know how you were doing, and genuinely made every single person feel special. And he will forever be missed. Love you, Kimball.
My name's Austin. I'm the youngest of the Richmond family, and I'm like the little squirrel with the buck teeth and all those pictures back in the day. But when I, thinking back these past couple of weeks, thinking about my relationship with Kimball and kind of, how he's, for my entire life, Kimball's been there, being the youngest of like the couple of families that were just really like all one big family. Of course, when I was little, it was a lot of like teasing, a lot of messing with me, but on those family trips, all the ski trips, like he would always find some time, even though he was years more advanced in skiing,
find some time to go and like go take me on some back route and like show me some carves, show me like he loved teaching, he loved sharing his insane skills, insane knowledge with everybody, with all of his friends, all of us here, I'm sure. And I mean, I just appreciate that so much that he could both be the life of the party, but then he has such a sweet spirit about him at the same time, that I hope everyone here got to experience. And then kind of as our relationship evolved from, you know, being 5 or 6 years younger than Kimball growing up to, you know, high school at Mitch's, all of those fun times, and then now beyond where we've been a lot of time together, going on walks. It's like there's this fun, crazy side to him where he's always the life of the party, and then there's the side of him where he just wants to like share all of his amazing skills with all of us. And I mean, like, there's looking at all of the things along the walls, it's like every like item along those walls just reminds me of the time when Kimball took time out of his day, out of his crazy like adventures and his crazy busy schedule to just teach me something that he's passionate about, and like just like everyone's saying, like an older brother. And I appreciate it so much. And it's like trying to think of life without him is like really tough, but I appreciate all the good times. And I know we'll see him again.
My name is David Anderson. I was in the 7th Ward. We moved here tail end of my freshman year. So he was 3 years older, and he's always part of the older boys. You know, you watch them, and they're an example, and I think that's one of the things that I see through all the stories that I've heard about Kimball so far, is that he's got a legacy behind him that we all have bits and pieces of, that we all remember differently, and we all can take him as an example and see that he was kind to. And I remember one time, it was actually the second week in our ward, he came running out of the church, and I was showing up late with my mom, and he jumped on his motorcycle. He's like, "I forgot a tie," and he speeds off. And by the time I go from just down the street right here, where, you know, the steps meet the sidewalk, to almost the entry of the chapel, comes back with a tie. So him driving fast it's his nature. I think going fast is something that I related with him a lot too, but seeing the older boys riding motorcycles gave me an itch that I eventually got to scratch and ride my own and get my license. But I also, at the later, after, you know, everyone graduates, you go through like a soul searching period. One of the times I was thinking, oh, what do I want to do, like, for my birthday, right? And this time, I decided to go tandem, and went skydiving for the first time. It was awesome. And I decided to get licensed after that. So I had my B license, and that's 50 jumps total skydiving. But Kimball and I started about the same time. But by the time I got my 50 jumps, Kimball's just barely starting wingsuiting. So that just goes to show he does go all out, and he gave it his all. Every time he did something, you know, it had 100% of his effort behind it. And, you know, one of the things, a tradition for skydiving that we do is we give each other like a high five and a little fist bump. And it's like a handshake between skydivers. In the community, people die, and it's heartbreaking, but it's insane to people that haven't done it. And recently I was watching his adventures and I was just getting ready. Every day, your life can be taken from you and given to a higher purpose, serving God. But in that moment, you remember that there is nothing else in the world except for that moment. And Kimball is really good at living and being fully enveloped in the moment. And I think a lot of that came from the example of how he was raised between his parents, because I go to the YSA ward, and Phil Wing was my first YSA bishop. And they have a contagious smile in that family that shines through Phil and shines through Kimball and shines through the rest of them. And if I didn't get to know him, I'm glad that I got to at least meet him and see him. And now I get to see him through other people. So thank you all.
When I was younger, I used to be really jealous of a lot of my other friends in the ward because they, had these super cool other brothers who had been, surfing and beat them up, toughen them up. And Austin kind of made me think when he said the word hazing. My favorite Kimball, me, and Austin memory was we're at the Castellanos and Kimball rolls up, grabs me and Austin and hog ties us, takes our shirts off, hog ties us, rolls us around on the grass, or starts 5-starring us. And I think about that being, like 12 years old, and then, the last couple of years where the beat downs, the grom hazing turned into just, older brother mentor, through just all the big life decisions, whether it was going on a mission or what to do after college, what to do when the girl breaks up with you. And, he was always just a phone call away just to walk you through it. And, the past couple of years we've, got really close just walking down the beach, all the bike rides, all the random 12 a.m., hey, let's go get Dave's hot chicken. I'm asleep, and he's like, just so persuasive, you can never say no. And I think it just cracks me up still that my parents have a hot tub and the Wings have a hot tub, and still at 26 and 32, we're looking for new places to pool hop and explore. And I guess the last just funny thing is Kimball always loved to tell me just to, I'll just be like, hey, get out of the car, and I'd be like, and, persuasive, I'd listen up and be like, you just tell me, you're not allowed back in the car until you go do this. And I'm like, dude, what the? I'm like a 25-year-old guy. He's like, you're walking home unless you go up to those 6 girls. I'm like, dude, come on, just let it be. He's like, no. And he had a way with words, but he had best advice when it was needed. And like a lot of people said, he never judged. He teased and he joked, but he never judged because, he had a great heart, and he always had your back. He really was as loyal as he come, and he's going to be missed. And love you, Kimball. Thanks for being the brother in my life that I always needed.
Hi, I'm Chris Circuit. I grew up around the Wings, and I think I knew Kimball his whole life. And just had a couple of memories to share. I was also got to participate with the legendary Sunday school class that everyone wants to talk about. And I was assigned, I think, to be the teacher of that class after they had run off. A handful of teachers, including my sister, and Terry here. So, while revisiting this instance, do want to say that Stephen stuck up for his brother and said that Cassie and Natalia were really truly blamed for what happened. But without rehashing everything, it was Kimball that ended up pushed up against the wall by my wife Stacy, being threatened to straighten up because he had upset me in some lesson. I got frustrated with the class, and I usually didn't do that. And she, in a way only she could, put him kind of up against the wall. And to his credit, I think he did pretty good. He had a good rest of the year in that class. So yeah, I got to see kind of the squirrely part. Part in the middle was when he had gotten home from his mission. Neil, Walden, and I were supervising the young men and were doing an activity, and I thought it was a good idea to invite Kimball to participate in that. And again, without much detail, let's just say Neil and I were apologizing to parents for Kimball's exuberance towards his role given in that activity. So he wasn't all the way there yet. I did ask two of my sons for their memories of Kimball. Jack, our oldest, who's 18. Well, first we'll go with Mitch. Mitch is 16, and his only thought, I'm embarrassed, I'm not going to tell you where he is, but basically Mitch said, I just remember all the hot girls Kimball had around. Important a 16-year-old. Jack, who was 18, just said he remembered Kimball and Cole riding in the van with them when they were little boys at Chuck E. Cheese, and Kimball just kind of trying to distract Stacy and make her laugh, but also kind of spending time with them. So while he was a squirrely young man, he still was willing to go with our family and my young boys to entertain them and be with them. So while he pushed people's buttons, he also was pretty sweet to spend time with the young boys. And then my last thing I'll just remember is I think we were lucky, and I'm going to guess that we weren't alone in this, but Stacy and I at our house were lucky that we would get occasional visits from Kimball randomly. Occasionally, he would text, usually he'd just show up. He would just show up at 8 or 9 o'clock at night and stay till midnight, just hanging out, talking. Usually, we were trying to ask him about his life, and we were unsuccessful because he always wanted to ask how we were doing, what we were doing, but just spent hours. I'll miss just visiting with Kimball for hours in our house. We just feel lucky and grateful to have known him in that way.
It was a soft love tap against the wall. And it's because I got up when my kids were little, our 3 boys now, but they were little. And I said, Chris, I'm going to make your class cookies. He's like, Stacy, they don't deserve cookies. And I'm like, but every Sunday school class wants treats. And so I was extra upset that Chris legit came out crying. Okay, not crying. It takes a lot to get Chris upset. He's very even-keeled. So far this sports field. Like Chris said, Kimball is just one of our favorites, and I don't know how I got so lucky 20 years ago to come into this world. And to have him be there to help raise my boys. And it was like him putting Jack on the back of the motorcycle and flying past me and I'm like, hey, slow down. He's like, we're good. And then I have Cole Castellano bombing him down, one of our sons down the hill on his hip on a skateboard. And that's just how they grew up, and it was pretty awesome. Then they just show up at sporting events and games, and all of them, the Kimball's friends are the best, and Kimball's the best. And so whether it was Chuck E. Cheese, we hit up SeaWorld, Mr. Frosty's a lot, and last year Kimball was like, Stacy, I love the ocean. He's like, okay, just come lobster diving with me. And I'm like, Kimball, I love the ocean nighttime, that's a little too much for me. He's like, no, if it's a good night and you might just get vertigo, you'll be fine. And I'm like, No thanks. But this last December, I took my oldest Jack and we went skydiving, and Kimball came with us. And I saw his crazy passion for jumping out of planes and flying through the air, and he was like up toward the nose of the plane, and I'm sitting over where it's like open, and I'm like trying to hold on, there's nothing to hold on to, and that's like over the Pacific Ocean, and you're like, oh wow. And it was one of the best memories, and I'm so grateful that we had that time together, and I got to see his eyes light up being in that plane together. So we love you, Kimball. I won't put you up against the wall again. I love you.
There's a couple thoughts I have. Does it feel real? Because I've been talking to Kimball when he was on this trip and kind of hearing all the gnarly stories he's going through. But there's a couple of things I'm very thankful for when it comes to Kimball. One is the underground world known as Pacific Beach. Not many have had the fortunate opportunity to be down there, but it's lived by a few that he just wondered where the sewers went to. And hopefully if it was the bay or the ocean, he wouldn't drown in that process. And that's led to some great memories through us. Another one was Kimball, when he first started to kind of diving and base jumping, he always wondered if he could jump off the cliffs of Blacks. And we'd scoped it out a couple times, like he just picks you up and you're like, okay, let's go. And one night he's like, I'm gonna do it. And he like always had like visions, right? Jumping off the Empire State Building or jumping off some random rock somewhere. But this night he was like, I'm gonna do it. And so he kind of planned out what he was gonna do and how to not get caught, and got to witness him doing something that very few people have ever done. And that's part of what I know he'll go down as is something that he could set his mind to and commit to. And then the last thing is I've had some pretty serious health issues, and there hasn't been a single time when Kimball hasn't stopped by or gone out of his way to make me feel loved and known. And it's always about, no matter like what place he was in, he was willing to reach out to others, and that's something I always want to kind of live by and leave that part of him going, is reaching out no matter what it is. And it started with his parents, but it's led to him and now me. I'll miss you and love you, Kimball.
I think one reason Mindy and I are such good friends is we have this love of rascally boys. It was fun raising them, and like the boys have said, there's so many stories to tell, but a few have come to my mind. When it was Dane, he had a truck he wanted to sell, but he left on his mission. So I had this big trailer come up, and the truck had to be driven up on this higher level, and the little area to drive the wheels was about this big, and I was completely intimidated how I was going to get this old truck up there. And Kimball was maybe 14 or 15, but I only had the little boys at home, so I called Kimball, and sure enough, comes over, cool, calm, and collected, and got that old truck up on these little rims for this truck to be taken off. Just so capable whenever you needed him. Another quick story is, we were at a basketball game and Scripps Ranch, and Jess and Kimball were known to kind of be cut out of the same cloth a little, as all the boys were, but they were yelling a phrase that I won't admit to maybe having yelled it in my lifetime also, but it was something to do with life not existing on the other side of a certain freeway. It didn't take too kindly, and Miss Greco, the vice principal, didn't like it. Anyways, those two got themselves thrown out of the basketball game, and she wasn't too happy. But I was fortunate enough to be subbing at La Jolla High then, and one day I walk in the library and I see the back of a boy's head with his hands in Miss Greco's hair, massaging her head, and I get around the corner to see it's Kimball. Sure enough. The last story is, in true wing fashion, well, it was my 60th birthday, I will admit to it, a few years back, and I had cut my hand really pretty good. Well, Mindy and Phil have us over for dinner, and, you know, I'm kind of trying to take care of it. Mark had taped it up and said it would be fine. But Kimball looked at it, and he said, "Jan, you need stitches." And it was about 7:30 at night, and I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Look, Mark, you're busy. I'll just take Jan." So we went out to urgent care, and it took most of the night. Actually, we were there most of the night, and it was a very interesting night. I mean, being in an urgent care room with Kimball, he just opened the doors. "You need this, you need this, you need this." I'm still using the first aid supplies he gathered. But the doctor comes in, this nice middle-aged, tired woman doctor, and he had her wrapped around his finger, of course. But together they stitched up my hand. And, a few months later, Kimball removed the stitches for me to kind of soften the blow. But yeah, like all the other moms from 7th Ward, I will miss Kimball walking in the house, seeing what's up in the fridge, and checking with everybody. And Kimball, I want you to know, I'll make you some of Grandma's pasta salad when I get there. And heaven just got a heck of a lot more fun with Kimball there.
I don't know where to stand. I also grew up with Kimball. My sophomore year of high school, we attended an early morning Bible study class here, and Steve and Kimball, after that class, would drive me to school every day. I was the only person they drove. There was other kids that needed rides, but other kids were scared to drive in the car with me. But I didn't see any problems. I was like, we're gonna get there fast. We're gonna get this parking spot. We're gonna be nice and close to the school. And we're also just gonna go over the roundabouts, which is instead of going around them. So I saw a lot of pros to riding with Stephen and Kimball. I got to see a lot of the twins' dynamic at that time, and they argued a lot. And it was always Kimball that started the fight, and it would kind of end. But then it was Stephen that would be like, "I just can't believe that it would start all over again." And while they were different, they were equally passionate in their arguments. It was a lot, all right. But it was worth it. It was a good time. And I'm just really grateful that I got to have fun with Kimball growing up. And I've been sad these past couple of weeks, just thinking about, I just always thought you grow up and you just get really busy with life. The main times I saw Kimball as an adult was when I would come back for holidays, and he happened to be here too. And I just always thought I was gonna have time to make more memories with Kimball. And I'm really glad that he just, even though I didn't get to know adult Kimball as well as I wish I would, I'm just glad to see he was so loved, that he kept a lot of his old friends and was changing the lives of new friends. And I'm grateful that he was clearly living just a very happy life. And I do remember my last conversation with Kimball. I did see him over this last Christmas at the Richmond's Christmas party, and I only got to talk to him for a little bit, but he was asking me about my life, and I was telling him how much I really love living in Arizona. And sometimes I feel silly admitting that to my San Diego friends. But I remember Kimball was like, yeah, there's cool places and things to do and people, and I felt so validated because I'm like, if Kimball thinks it's cool, then I am cool. And I loved Kimball, and I'm really gonna miss him.
I also, I don't want to keep you guys all night, so we'll finish up in a couple. Nate, we'll finish up after Nate.
I'll be quick. Kimball was just the best. He was the guy you never had to wonder, if you're wondering, what would happen if someone actually did that? Kimball would do it, and then you would find out, like, that's what happened if someone did that. It's just, oh my gosh, it's so fun having him around. Steak dancing, my gosh. Just, like, the wonder he would do it. He does it. In seminary, we were part of an elite group. Kimball, myself, and Michael Despain. And Jess, yeah, we're part of the C team. That Ray got us together. The A team was the good team, that's the Cassie team. B team was I don't even remember who was on the B team. Not a whole lot of people. It was really just, Stephen was on the B team. Just kind of, you were there, but you're not really contributing, but you're not really negatively contributing. And then there was the C team, which is where you're actively trying to destroy the class. Actively. And man, gosh, Kimball would just take us to a whole other level. He was like the Michael Jordan of our team. He just knew the best ways to push raise buttons. And, oh man, it was so much fun. I don't know. Oh man, I'm just gonna miss Kimball so much. Gosh, he was so fun to be around, and I'm just gonna miss times when I would come back here and just not being able to see him anymore. But one of the things I'm happy about today is being able to see all the great people here that love him so much, and I love as well. And so, like Kimball can bring us all together. It's really good to be together with some of these great people. Kimball, we're gonna miss you. Love you.
It's gonna be hard to hold it together. I just want to come and tell Kimball how grateful I am for him. He was always for you, no matter who you were. And to your point on the, he would figure. One time we found this underground tunnel that went probably 200 yards down with a little stream of water in it, and there was a pool at the bottom. And it was in Spanish